Hi everybody, welcome to Leon's Chainsaw Parts and Repair. I'll explain this comment a little bit later. Let's see if the 330 that needed a new control board will actually run. Oh, maybe. Well, I'll be damned. A new control board did the trick. Obviously, well, maybe not obviously, but yes, I'm being a smartass about this. So this saw is Ernie's Homelite 330. Get this camera back up. Yeah, whatever, that'll work. He sent it to me, Ernie, somewhere over in northeastern Oregon, Pendleton area, I believe. And he'd had it to one of the shops that he's got at his disposal over there, and they'd gone through some stuff and told him that it, man, that camera really is at an odd angle here. They had told him that it needed a new control board. They couldn't get it to run right. And thankfully, Ernie found my website, shot me an email and said, hey, I got this saw, it's been at the shop. This is what they told me. He said, does a 1980s saw have a control board? And I said, nah, not a chance in hell. And he came back with, that's what I thought. So, here's what we had going on. They had taken it apart. That much I could tell. They had not cleaned anything. I mean, this thing was chock full of sawdust and fuel. And it had obviously run a little bit, enough to leak the fuel to attract the sawdust. So they'd gotten down in here far enough to replace the duckbill valve in the tank. The carburetor pulse line had been replaced. Unfortunately, that hose was the wrong size, and the barb down on the crankcase was I mean, it was so loose. It was clearly a vacuum leak right there. That's part of why this thing was hard to start and wouldn't run right. They replaced that. They replaced the oil pulse hose. Okay, cool. That's good. If you're going to go to all that trouble getting this stuff apart, why would you leave the old fuel hose in there? There was a new filter on it. Wrong filter for the saw. It was a little too big. No worries. Again, whatever. But it was the old hose, and not only was there a pinhole leak right where it comes out of the plastic tank, it was slightly cracked at the fuel barb right there, just a little pinhole. So once again, there was no way this thing was going to keep its fuel charged. And the topper, the carburetor hadn't been rebuilt. So this is the fuel pump side diaphragm. This is stiff, very stiff. These are supposed to be the checks for the pump. You pull a carb apart and you see them that stiff. See, that won't even bend. This ought to be curling over. This isn't going to work right. It's not going to come back down. If fuel gets past it, it's got to come back down and then seal that passage. And clearly this couldn't do it. So, all of that stuff that I mentioned before, and a new kit in the carburetor, a simple, $10 kit, Boom, here we go. I did not run it long enough, I don't think, for the oil pump to reprime. These can be a miserable pain in the neck on that. But it is a little after 8 o'clock here, so I'm guessing my neighbors would prefer that I not run this thing long enough to get that pump reprimed tonight, so I'll handle that later. But clearly it's running. I always like to let these things sit for a day or two and then do another cold start just to be sure that everything's right, but I'm pretty confident in this one. It's a clean saw. I believe this is a very low hour saw based on what I'm seeing here. It's a 1982 model. Barely. Wow, this was the 99th unit, built on the 347th day of 1982. So, and that's a December saw. Probably was sold in 1983. So anyway, it's very clean. All the stickers are in place. The handguard still has the nice warning label on it. Whatever this cut was pitchy, probably some ponderosa pine or something like that. In northeastern Oregon, could even be juniper. That does have some sap to it because you get a nice layer of sap on here. But other than that, everything is complete. I'm going to finish buttoning this thing back up, and like I say, I'll let it sit for a couple days, fire it back off, and then we'll get it drained. Ernie, your saw is going to be fine. This bill is not going to be bad at all. And yeah, for anybody in northeastern Oregon, the Pendleton area, Wallowa, based on Ernie's experience, if you need work on your saw, shoot me an email and I'll try to walk you through what you need done. If not, it's really cheap to ship these things interstate. So, Ernie, your saw is going to be ready to come back to you very soon.